Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Coin Drop Podcast. This is episode number 104 as we move along for the year. And just a quick heads up off the top here. There is not a lot of news. Mike and I have spent the last hour to hour and a half trying to comb through and pick up any scraps that we could find. There is not a ton. So we are in the wake of... we're in the wake of the big conferences. So there's just not a lot new to talk about other than to clarify on stuff that we've already kind of discussed. So we're going to kind of talk about Resident Evil 9 again, as well as another game that was recently announced from NetEase that looks amazing. And then over on Patreon, we're going to be talking about a game made by ex-devs of The Witcher that showed off, I think it was about 20 minutes of gameplay. And so if you want to hear about that game and that project, head over to Patreon for $3 a month. You get access to all that content over there, as well as all this, as well as a day early access. And you don't have to go to Patreon to get it all the time either. You can actually subscribe on Patreon and have it pushed on a special feed into your Spotify. So you don't have to go to Patreon and download it. Don't have to have a Patreon app, any of that. You can literally just subscribe to us on Patreon, have Spotify, and it'll populate there for you. You just have to link those two together. So that is an option. Yeah, with that, I guess, Mike, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
So it's been a fun week. I had COVID last week, so this week has kind of just been regaining all my energy. I was actually able to work out a couple of days ago and not die more than usual.
More than
arms
usual.
And my shoulders hurt more than usual. Well, I mean, everybody, they
everybody dies.
Yeah, everybody dies. This time I didn't die more than usual.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just been a recovery week, and then also kind of just sitting down, grinding, try to figure out my shit while also figuring out the stuff with PAX and media, which that got ironed out. You got your email.
Sure
so
did.
We're actually going to PAX as an official media presence and not just a couple of hooligans that happen to also run a podcast.
No, that's also still the fact. That's 100% still.
Yeah, that's still us. We're just a couple of fools.
Just a couple of dudes.
Just a couple of guys.
A couple of guys.
Yeah. Aside from that, figuring out my own shit. Got an interview on Tuesday with dispatching or Amazon contract dispatcher people to deliver for routes. I'm gonna throw Amazon boxes at your window. Boxes. I'm gonna throw Amazon boxes at your windows.
All right, Boston.
For all the listeners, Russ just ducked his head. Face palmed. If you've ever seen that, I was going to reference a movie, but I lost it.
You're doing great here, buddy. You're doing real good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, how was your week, man? Because I'm fucking destroying it.
Yeah, you're doing great. You're crushing it. My week was pretty good. It was a little wild. Just kind of enjoying summer break and working where I can to make what I can to cover the gaps. Maury starts summer camp next week, so that'll be cool. I have to take her out there, but that'll be good. She'll have some fun, I think, and it'll leave me time to work around the house and do other stuff. I did get my media email on Friday, so they confirmed that, which I kind of figured they would once Mike got one. But boy, that made, if you didn't listen, or better yet, if you didn't watch last week's episode on YouTube, do this man a favor and go on, just watch the first cold open. Just watch the cold open. Mike did 170 something edits to make just 16 seconds of video that every time I watch it makes me laugh so hard. It's just a masterpiece. I think it's absolutely our best cold open ever. It is brilliant and very funny. What was your email that you got that I didn't get? What was that email?
The email that you're really mad about. The email that I'm
yes. The email that happened literally earlier today, and I'm really mad about it.
I got an email.
And honestly, if you have not seen it on YouTube, please go to YouTube and check it out. It's just that bit is very funny. If you like it, thumbs up the video. Just give it a thumbs up. You don't have to watch the whole thing. but you should check that out because he really knocked it out of the park. Yeah, he knocked it out of the park on that one. So that being said, I was supposed to have done some additional research after last episode so Mike could cut that into the episode. That never got done for Resident Evil for the timeline that we were kind of looking at, trying to figure out where Resident Evil 9 fit in the timeline. Don't know how we got to where we got, but we were absolutely 100% incorrect on literally everything we said. Without a doubt. In fact, it has been made clear.
Yes, but no, because
no, we were
just basing it on the fact of
time, how
old Ashcroft was.
Yeah,
and that was it.
Right. Yeah. But the reality is this, I believe, Resident Evil 9 will be the furthest ahead in the timeline of the Resident Evil universe because it has been confirmed to take place 30 years after Resident Evil 3, which puts us in about 2027, 2028 for the timeline. So that's cool. Yeah, that's pretty much what we know. We also got some more footage. We got some gameplay footage that we're going to talk about for Resident Evil 9. And I think there's an article online that they said it in a way that's really stupid. It tends to happen a lot with a lot of outlets. They will key in, and this is something that I've noticed in news period. They'll key in on one sentence that a developer or someone says, and they'll build their entire article around that and use it in their headlines and stuff like that. What I'm referring to is recently a news outlet has said that the Resident Evil team said that Leon makes for a poor protagonist for a horror game. And I don't know about you.
Don't leave out the name of the news outlet. Come on.
I'm not.
Give us the tea.
No. It was Games Radar. It's Games Radar. It's not a bad article, but they do the same thing that everybody else does, right? So I want to address this though, because a lot of people. What, Mike? What?
I'm sorry, but I what? You were like, no. And then you were like, Games Radar.
It's not a bad article. It's just a bad, it's a grabber, right? It's the fucking, yeah. Anyways, their statement is basically saying that Leon makes for a bad horror protagonist because you can't have Leon get scared. The entire quote is Leon's not going to jump at a bucket of water that falls off of something or a rat knocking something off a shot. That's not what Leon's going to do, because Leon as a character is fucking PTSD psychopath who's not flinching at anything anymore. He's so fucking over it. He could
trained to kill.
Yeah,
he's ready.
It's no issue for him. So I kind of agree with what they're saying, that they wanted to do Leon, but Leon for a horror game is not a good character to use. And I started thinking about that. And we've gotten to a point where I think everybody in Resident Evil is not good for Resident Evil anymore. Jill, the main cast, right? Jill, Chris, Leon, Ida, they're all, even Sheva, right? They are at this point veterans of this franchise, to a point where I think that's why Resident Evil 6 did so poorly. Looking at it now, I'm wondering if that was the shift on why they changed and went a completely different direction with 7, because with 6, it played like a fucking action game. You were just running and gunning.
Yeah.
And it's okay, this isn't a horror game. This doesn't feel like Resident Evil, because with Resident Evil 2, when you play Leon, it's all new. It's all happening then. Nobody knows what's going on. So his fear, his concern, it feels genuine because it's what you're feeling as the player too.
Yeah.
And in 4, it's not as scary. It is because it's new as the player, but to Leon, it's it's just another fucking Tuesday at this point, dude. He's a veteran at that point. And then Chris Redfield punches a boulder in 5. So, I think Mike froze. Oh, there he is. Okay.
You could even say that kind of. I was gonna say you froze. I don't know what's going on with Discord.
I don't know. It's being weird tonight.
You could also.
Boy, this is great.
You could also say that even with Resident Evil 7 into Resident Evil Village, that Ethan kind of started out as the same, this is new to me, I don't understand what the fuck's happening, but I have a gun. And then Village rolls in and he's, not a veteran, but he's familiar with what's going on. So he doesn't have as much of that primal fear. So he's like ready to fucking go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with the whole, I see what they're saying with Leon not being a good fit for the main protagonist moving forward, but it would be so funny to like be going through this whole like badass action sequence and then Leon gets scared by a bucket.
Yeah.
That right there is peak gaming.
I think there's a lot of people that would disagree with you. But it's interesting because now that I think about it, the game looks like what we saw from 2 and 3 remake. Like it has that kind of feel of fear to it, that vibe. I think they called it addictive horror is what they said in the trailer. And it's a good point because it makes me question a couple of things, right? Where is the franchise going to go from here? Because how are you going to, you're going to have to be constantly changing protagonists to keep the fear there and make it viable. Yeah. Because if we play as Grace in the next game, or it's like 2 games and they're done kind of thing, kind of like Ethan, right? Because like if you play as Grace in the next game, then she's arguably not going to be as afraid. Because like this whole game, they said that like as she goes through this one, she's going to be conquering that fear and like getting over it, because that's what we're looking to do. Like that's why we play horror games, is to get adjusted to the fear, conquer the fear, and move forward from it. So if you have a character that's doing it this game, arguably the next game, regardless of how scary you make it to the player, it doesn't make sense for the character to have the same level of fear. I guess if that makes sense. Like
sure.
Like what I mean is she's not the bucket thing, right? Like she might jump in a bucket this time because it's a tense situation, shit's weird, falls off the rack, she fucking jumps. Mm-hmm. She goes through 12 hours of extreme stress and terror. The next time she gets into that state of fear, she's not going to be as jumpy. She's going to be cold and calculated and like, better at
ready.
It. You're right. She's going to be ready for that bucket when it jumps off the shelf. So
fuck that bucket.
It's interesting. I like the perspective shift. What do you think? I'm curious what your thoughts are. Do you think you'll end up playing this game in first person or third person, or constantly shifting between the two? How do you see yourself playing Resident Evil 9?
I honestly feel like I'm going to probably be shifting between the two, but it's primarily going to be first person for me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I haven't played.
I can see myself using the third person perspective when like it calls for it. Like if I want to peek around the corner, like if I know something's about to happen and I want to peek around the corner, I might switch to third person to like bitch out.
You're gonna fucking screen peek, bitch. You're gonna PUBG it and push your fucking nose against the wall and just be like, all right, there's 3 guys coming. One of them has a shotgun, straight. The other one's flanking. Viva La Dirt League style.
Yep.
So
what about you?
I feel like because I made this statement last week, right? I'm firm Resident Evil should be third person, period. That's what that game was. It's what it should be. But like the more I saw it in first person, the more I'm like, man, this looks like it plays really good in first person. Like really, really like just great.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's the animations for her in third person look really good. But it also like feels wrong. Like it feels like they designed the game to be viewed from the first person and then made third person an option afterwards. Not in a sense of like the animations look weird or anything like that, but the way the environment is built and the graphical fidelity that they're achieving with the game, it feels like it's designed to be viewed from the first person perspective, if that makes sense.
I can see. Yeah, I can see what you're referring to with that.
So I feel like I'll probably want to play it in third person, but I have a feeling I'm going to mostly play it in first person because I've never played 7 or 8. And what turned me off of 7 and 8 so much was the first person shift. What's really going to sell it for me is whether or not I have an FOV slider, because I hate first-person games that don't have FOV sliders, because I feel like I'm looking with fucking blinders on, and that's not how that's not how we actually see, right? We don't see in 80 degrees. Like, we're not seeing with fucking cones on our eyes. I don't know about you, but I've got roughly 130 degree vision. Like, it's a pretty fucking wide arc. I can see my hands out here. So like it's Doom status, right? Like, I want to be able to fucking see 360. Not really, but so it's going to depend on the sliders, I guess.
In Resident Evil 7, I think the max it goes to is 90, and then Village, I think it goes up to 110.
Yeah, 110 feels like 90 is bare minimum in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. When I'm replaying Resident Evil Village, and I set it to 90, and I'm like, oh, this is taking me a minute to get used to again. Because as someone who has gotten back into Warzone, and like even PUBG, honestly, in the first person game modes, you can go all the way up to 120. And like that is like you can see everything like back here still.
That's a little extreme. But like 90 to 110 I think is a good spot personally. So
yeah.
Anything narrower than that just doesn't feel good. There's not a whole lot really to talk about that's new about Resident Evil 9. There was apparently somebody found in Resident Evil 7, there was actually a letter from Eliza Ashcroft that they found that was dated for 2016. So obviously we know, relatively speaking, Grace's mother died recent in the story, because if the game's taking place in 2026, 2027, 2028, somewhere in there, we're looking at like 10, 11, or 12 years after this letter is when the game's taking place. And we know she was alive in 2016. So her mom's only been dead for like 10 years, arguably, which is still a long time, but like it's recent enough that that's definitely going to come into play, I think, with her trauma and dealing with the fact that she's going to where her mother died, or where 100%. So I don't know. The return to Raccoon City, their whole vibe for like, they want to make this an epitaph for the Resident Evil franchise and how far it's come and stuff like that, makes me wonder what they've got planned for the future, where their thoughts are. I don't think they have anything planned yet, but it makes me think like, where's the story going to go from here, right? Like I said, are we going to be seeing rotating protagonists now? Are we ever going to see the return of Leon and Jill and Chris, or are we done with them? Like, are they not going to show up outside of cameos, right? Or like in Resident Evil 8, where Chris shows up and just guns everything down and is just total fucking monster man. Are we gonna see a cameo like for Leon? Style. Yeah, are we gonna see a cameo for Leon in this game? I think it'd be kind of weird for him to just randomly show back up in Raccoon City, but not out of the question.
Yeah, I mean, he did escape. So
I
don't see why not.
You know who I think they should do a cameo of, just because like only I would say only the hardcore fans, but the remake of 2 made it way more accessible. They should bring back the 4th survivor, Hunk. They should bring back Hunk. They should bring Hunk into Resident Evil 9, because that would be fucking hilarious.
God damn it.
Or better yet, the tofu survivor, who is so you get oh man, so that's a deep cut. Yeah, all right. So in the original and in the remake, after you beat the 4th survivor story on the hardest difficulty, you unlock another game mode which is basically the exact same thing, but you play as a giant piece of tofu. Yep. Yeah, it's you should look it up, because it's very funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bring him back. Bring that thing back. Yep. Need.
Yep.
I think what's funnier is just imagining a giant slice of tofu running around and zombies still taking a bite out of it.
Yeah, that's exactly, yes. That's exactly the funny part. But think about it, with modern tech, they could actually like make it and then just like actually take chunks out of the tofu.
little mouth size, like human mouth sized chunks out of this giant tofu with legs. God damn it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Deep cuts, man. That
This needs
was,
to happen.
dude. So like back when that was an actual thing, right? You got to remember PS1 era. Internet's still in its infancy. The Tofu Survivor was a legend. Like no one believed it was real. We didn't have YouTube. If you didn't see it with your own eyes. So like people would tell you about this, like, yeah, dude, if you beat Hunk's story on like the hardest difficulty, you can run around as a piece of tofu.
Nah, man, you're full of shit. Nah, man, you're full of shit. There's nothing else.
You got to remember the time frame too, right? Like this is the same time frame that people are saying if you beat Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time in less than 30 minutes, you unlock a handgun. That was a real rumor that went around for Legend of Zelda. You could get a handgun if you beat it in under 30 minutes. And no one believed that shit either.
What the fuck?
It's just, I'm just telling you my childhood here, man. I'm just telling you like it was, all right? Like, yeah. So the Tofu Survivor for a long time was like everybody thought it was a fucking joke. And then turns out shit's real. Like was published in Game Informer, Game FAQs published a walkthrough on it in a notepad style text format that was 173 pages long or some shit like that. And if you tried to print that and you printed the whole walkthrough, your dad would punch you in the face because you just spent like 300 pages paper. Some people's childhoods are wild.
More expensive, damn it. Yeah. I remember those.
Yeah.
Those days of printing out all the cheat codes.
Uh-huh.
And then finally my parents bought me a massive cheat code book.
They're like, we're sick and tired of you wasting
they
our
thought
paper.
about it and they were like, well, I mean, if you think about it, back then paper wasn't exactly, I mean, it was cheap, but it wasn't like as cheap as it is now.
Yeah.
So like
ink was expensive as fuck still too.
Back then to buy those those massive preprint like 400-page books that just has every fucking cheat code for every game known to man at the time versus your kid wasting hundreds of dollars of ink a week.
Yeah. In 90s money too, hundreds of dollars is
$20, man.
Yeah. In the 90s too, hundreds of dollars was
new fucking printers with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. It was a lot of money. But yeah, I mean that's Resident Evil 9. I'm pretty stoked for it. I wonder if it's gonna be VRable, if they're gonna release a VR version, if it's gonna come to more consoles than just like the PS VR this time, because Resident Evil 4 VR came to just PSVR. So
because Resident Evil 7 was a PSVR thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Resident Evil 8 got VR at all.
And then Resident Evil 4 Remake did.
Outside of a mod.
Yeah. And Resident Evil 4 Remake did. So, but it's only PlayStation VR. So, I would like to see it on PC, because the other option is Resident Evil 4 Original got a VR release on the MetaQuest. But like, can we just get VR on a PC, please? Please?
Yeah, I mean, even if we don't get Resident Evil 9 in VR, I'm sure someone's going to make a mod.
Yeah, I mean, would Praydog work for that? They don't use Unreal, do they?
I don't think so, because it's not Unreal Engine. They use Red Engine, their own.
Right. Yeah, somebody will release a mod. Still need to play those, but I need to get that freaking ProTube first. I have to get that. I really need the ProTube.
Or you could just do you could just do a full sneak no gun playthrough.
That's a thing.
All you get's your lighter and your wits. I don't know. I imagine.
I was talking about 7 and 8, possible. But yeah.
Oh, 7 and 8? No.
Yeah.
You need to shoot shit.
Gotta shoot shit. Shoot the shit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got to shit. You got to shoot it.
Yep. And it needs to bleed. But speaking of bleeding, there is a new game from NetEase called Blood Message. That is, I think when Mike and I were watching it, the best we came up with was like, hey, Ubisoft, hold my beer. Because it looks like everything they tried to achieve with Assassin's Creed Shadows, but so much better. Not so much ninja stealth, but like the historical setting. It's set during the Tang Dynasty? Or the fall of Dynasty, you read the
fall of the Tang Dynasty.
Yeah, you had the little synopsis. Why don't you go ahead and read it for the audience?
Making me read, man. No, that's fine. Blood Message is a narrative-driven linear action adventure single-player game developed by NetEase Thunderfire's 24 Entertainment. It's coming to PC and console platforms. This game is based on the true historical event of the Don Huang's uprising. Set in the late Tang Dynasty in 848 AD, players take on the role of a nameless messenger who embarks on a perilous eastward journey to deliver a message that holds the fate of his homeland. Alongside his son, they survive relentless enemy sieges and treacherous 3000 Lee Odyssey. 3000 Lee Odyssey? I don't know.
League?
I think that's just a translation.
Is it supposed to be League?
It's weird because it's 3 and then dash 1000 dash LI. So I think maybe it's just a translation thing.
Maybe.
Fighting against impossible odds to return to the heart of the Chang'an. Amidst the desert sands, they etch the final tale of loyalty in the Great Tang. The world has heard too many stories of emperors and generals. Blood Message is an ode to the unsung heroes.
So there you go. Yeah, the game
the fall of the Tang Dynasty is
got it. So I like historical setting, check. I hope you put the trailer on screen at this point, but when you watch this content, like brutal fighting, like not just decapitations for the sake of decapitations, but like good.
There's like desperation.
Yeah, the animations look like just incredible. Honestly, they are high quality, to say the least. The movement, the dodge, he gets knocked over at one point, gets knocked off balance and like stumbles and goes to the ground, and then actually dodges. And it appears that this is all in-game gameplay. Like it all looks like actual gameplay for a lot of these fights. Scripted like takedowns. Like there's one where he grabs a dude's head and smashes it into like a countertop and then drags it across the counter as the counter's breaking. He like slashes a guy and knocks him back into like a rack. Like the environmental destruction, the animations, the emotion in the combat. It all looks like what Ubisoft was trying to go for. And they do have stealth too, and some semblance of climbing. I think I saw some, like at the very least he climbed up a rock face at one point.
Yeah, I wouldn't fully call it like a parkour system.
Yeah,
like there's a vaulting system is what it looks like.
Yeah. So like it really does look very solid. NetEase, I mean, I feel like their games are hit and miss. You know what I mean?
And a lot of their stuff they don't even actually develop themselves. They publish.
Yeah.
I feel like the majority, if not all of the games that we have seen or that we have played, we being singular, because I think I think the only game that we've actually played together that NetEase helped publish was Black Hawk Down.
Did they publish someone? Hawk Ops?
I think they published the multiplayer side of it.
Hawk Ops?
Yeah. I think it was them. It might have been another Chinese publisher if it wasn't them. But that's the majority of what they publish, is a lot of like Tarkov-esque clones initially on mobile, and then they moved to PC. So Lost Light was one of their massive ones. So this is their actual like first party developed in-house AAA budget game.
Yeah. They made Fragpunk, which I never played it, but it looked interesting. They
make it or publish it.
This seems to suggest they made it. I am on their website, their games portfolio. They also made Once Human, which personally I was not a big fan of. Wasn't for me.
It was cool when it came out. Now it's just you know, and a bunch of other games. But like a lot of them are, I would say like they're not games that I personally would choose to play. But boy, does Blood Message look good. So, yeah,
I don't really have a whole lot to say on that. Like, give game, I guess, in the words of Mike.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Give game.
Yep,
it looks good. Did they give us a release date?
GIB.
Gib game.
I don't think they did.
I don't think they did. I think it's still pretty early in development.
Or at least on the final stages, because like a lot of the stuff we saw was like there were cinematics, but they very much so looked like in-game cinematics, like an actual like piece of the story.
Yeah.
The transitions were really smooth. There was no like black screen loading.
Yeah.
I also like the biggest thing for me is the fighting. Like it looks sloppy, but like in the sense of like that's what fighting looks like. It's not
Yeah.
pre-calculated. It's not as simple as just like hit a button and shit happens. Like it's actually there's desperation to it. Like when he got knocked down and had to like roll to dodge the attack and then get back up. It very much like I said off camera. It had a sense of like, oh shit, I need to get up type of desperation.
Yeah.
So it feels like there's a liveliness to it.
Yeah,
We'll
there was not a single moment in the trailer that I was not completely enthralled with. Everything looked really, really good. The story seems compelling. The characters seem compelling. It is in Chinese, I believe, and then subtitled. I believe it's Chinese. It might be in Japanese. I'm horrible with languages, guys. I apologize.
It's Chinese because it takes place during the 10th dynasty, which is in China.
Right. I mean, that makes sense. So yeah, but
I'm sure when the game comes out, I mean they are marketing.
Yeah, they'll localize. Yeah, they'll localize.
So they'll localize.
Yeah, but like the characters all looked really good. What bit of their character we saw in terms of like their conversation is interesting enough that I would say narratively, I think this is a strong competitor to Ghost of Tsushima. Like in terms of depth of narrative and the emotional raw power of the story they seem to be telling, I think this is going to be a fantastic game if they can deliver on what they've shown. Right? Like we've seen plenty of games in the past. Here's looking at you the day before that have shown something that looked really enticing and then delivered a hot bag of trash. But that said, NetEase doesn't usually deliver a bad product. They just generally deliver products I personally am not interested in. I mean, shit, they made Marvel Rivals and they published, I guess, helped fund and all that. But either way, like
I think they had like a bit of hands-on with that, but it wasn't like as much as like their other like self-published, self-developed.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it looks good. I strongly urge you guys to check it out. I signed up for their newsletter to see kind of where it goes, and we will continue to update you as we get more information. I personally kind of hope they'll be at PAX, but I highly doubt it. We'll see. So
I don't even think they're in the US, dog.
Well, no, but neither is like a lot of companies. The God Save Birmingham game, they're not based in America either. Dude, freaking Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was there last year. And Larian for 3 times. Neither of those are in America.
Yeah, but don't they actually have like an actual like US like
no,
not like a studio, but like a fucking
nope.
I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking I don't know how shit works.
People travel
I'm just here
to promote products. That's how shit works. Yeah.
Yep.
So like I said, not a ton of news, but that's kind of our big main topics for the night. We've got a little bit more here for you guys for quickfire, and then we're going to head over to Patreon. And just a heads up, Patreon's going to be a little light over there as well, because there are not really any games coming up that are worth talking about at all. So we're going to be talking about that new project that we have talked about in the past. For those of you who have been with us for a while, you'll know what project I'm talking about from ex-Witcher devs. That looks really good. They dropped some gameplay. So we'll talk about that over there. But before we get there, Mike, you played the Legacy of Kain games. Were you a Blood Omen fan or a Soul Reaver fan? Did you play the Blood Omen games?
Soul Reaver.
You just Soul Reaver? Oh. Blood Omen's really good.
I mean, I have played Blood Omen, but a lot of my childhood memory is of the Soul Reaver.
Yeah, so Soul Reaver's solid. If you haven't picked them up, the HD remakes are really good. I play them on the Steam Deck. They play really well on the deck, and they're just genuinely fantastically well done remasters. But their last game, Legacy of Kain Defiance, recently got a rating on the PS4 store, which seems like it could potentially indicate at another remaster, much like they did with Soul Reaver, which would be really cool because Legacy of Kain, I got that actually for my birthday when I was like 12. You actually play as both Kain and Soul Reaver in that one. I don't know if you ever played that one. You play as both of them.
I don't recall.
Yeah. It was their last game, unfortunately. Then they made Nosgoth, which was god awful, and basically shut down the studio. But Legacy of Kain Defiance is the end of an era. Yeah, Nosgoth was not good. It was an online third-person shooter, if I remember correctly, and you played
career ending, apparently.
Huh? Yeah, it was,
said it was career ending.
Yes,
apparently.
It was very career ending. There was actually, they were working on a revival called like Black Sun, I believe. Legacy of Kain Black Sun was what it was going to be, but that fell apart. So, yeah. But anyways, Legacy of Kain Defiance looks like it's potentially getting a remaster. At the very least, maybe just a re-release, a port forward. It's hard to say right now.
I expect a few of these because I think, because Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, they just announced 3 and 4 are getting a remaster after 1 and 2 did so well. And then Tomb Raider also just dropped 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we got
a remaster.
The Kain trilogy, and then,
doing the Kain trilogy would be hard because Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen was a very different style of game. At least the first one. The second one was more action adventure. The first one was like old school top down pixel graphics, like as old style gaming. But
yeah, true.
So I don't know.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah, I personally would rather see Legacy of Kain get like a full remake the way Resident Evil 2 and 3 did, and 4. I think that would be fantastic for that game because it's a really good story that could use
100%.
a modern telling. In other news, Mind's Eye developer Build a Rocket Boy is doing layoffs. Their game apparently
they sure are
is a hot mess.
It was.
What's it sitting at on Steam right now? I'm curious. What's their rating?
It's got a rating.
Yeah, I bet it does. Oof. Out of 1,800 users on Steam, it is sitting at a mostly negative review. Boy, oh boy, that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You must have just cleared a bunch of reviews.
Most recent review posted on June 22nd. My God, what a mediocre game. I got this game for free, but still I feel like I want a refund. Oof. Wow. That's pretty brutal. Another person says
there's a guy I watched on YouTube that is just about like making videos about game glitches and like the games that not even necessarily have just glitches, like they are actually functional products, and he just goes and like purposely tries to break the game. Not so much like Josh from Let's Game It Out, but just for compilations or whatever.
Gotcha.
And he played this game and it was nothing but broken.
Oof.
There was no need to try and break the game. It was just fucking broken.
Yeah.
What was the next one you were going to
read? Just another guy says mediocre at best, total mess at worst. Price tag isn't justified. This guy says laggy and unfinished. I feel like that's probably your system. That seems like a system issue to me, not the game, but that's my guess.
Oh, the game is optimized awfully.
I was seeing people, that's a PC game in 2025.
Yeah, I was seeing people in like that, they have 5090s, 4080s, and like really high tier computers, and the game's running like just complete shit.
That's a damn shame. I'm sure it'll be good eventually. It's a shame that, of course, a game comes out broken and now people have to lose their jobs. I
don't think that they're going to get the chance to even get to like.
Not if they're already doing layoffs.
Thing later on, yeah. Like they announced, remember, they wanted to add an open world like patch and all that other shit. I don't think they're going to get that chance.
I don't think they are either. Yeah, I think the game is going to be shut down and they're going to be fucked. Which is a shame because it had some serious potential. I was super interested in it. I was hoping for some good stuff out of it, so I'm pretty disappointed by that. Moving on. This is a bit of old news, but we hadn't talked on it. Nexus Mod, the Nexus Mod website was recently sold, And literally the moment it was bought by its new owner, he came out and made a statement saying there will not be NFTs and there will not be subscription models, because everybody on the internet was like, oh, fuck, this website's over. No, apparently not. So seemingly
they have a subscription model currently. At least they did prior to the sale.
They did. Yeah. We'll see what happens.
I also found out through other people who do what we do, the person that bought the site is actually just like a really high-ranking administrator / moderator, just someone who's been with them and on that side of things for a long time. So they now own the site, and from what I'm hearing, seeing, and reading about this specific person, they're actually pretty chill. So should be fine. I honestly expect maybe they might bring the website into the modern era, because let's be honest, it doesn't exactly look like a pretty site when everything else on the internet is starting to look prettier and more modern, and you don't have to click on 9 different things just to search for like a specific mod. But aside from that, I expect it to be totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's been a website that serves well, so I'm glad to hear they're going to continue to support it and keep it relatively the same, hopefully not changing too much. Yeah. So
honestly, if they decide to get rid of the subscription that's currently there, or that was prior to the sale, please.
I doubt it.
Please do.
I doubt it. That website.
He said he's going to do it, so please do.
He didn't say he was getting rid of. He said there was going to be no new shit.
You should get rid of the old shit too.
So do you want the website to close down?
No.
Okay. Do you know how much money that website probably generates from its revenue? Because I can tell you how much money it generates from its revenue.
Probably a fair amount.
No.
I was going to say they run ads, but that's not.
Most people run ad blockers now. Yep. Mm-hmm. So they probably generate about $50 a month from ad revenue. If they're using Google AdSense. If they're doing sponsored ads, they might get more. The reason I know this is when CoinDrop was still a website, we ran Google AdSense. And in our best year, where we were going to top over 1 million unique visits, we made 57 cents.
Hell yeah, brother.
So do you want the website to close? Because if you do, that's how you get it to close. Subscription models, as much as we might hate them, are what help support websites from going under. It's the reason Game Informer went under. Is they moved away from the magazine, which is what people liked, and then they had their online website subscription, and people didn't want that at the time because it was nothing else was subscription based. So they shut down, and now they're back, right? Which is great. But it's one of those things. Like, even isn't Wikipedia funded entirely by donations, something like that? Yeah.
Donations and ad revenue.
Mm-hmm. So it's a necessary.
So donations.
Yeah. Right. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately. Dude, we're gonna have ads at some point if we ever get big enough to be able to run ads.
I mean, we're going to PAX, man. So we're going to go to PAX. We're going to come back with ad revenue.
You're funny. You have a very large misunderstanding of how PAX goes.
You're damn right.
Moving on, DayZ is getting an expansion so large it won't be ready until 2026. Seems like a dumb way to say that because it's the middle of 2025, but it's apparently getting a very large expansion sometime next year. So,
all right.
I don't know why these websites continue to write articles that have these ridiculous titles to them. It's getting something so big. It's going to be the best one that I've seen that's infuriating is, I talked about this with my brother when we went on that vacation, is articles that are written, again, not just a video game news thing, articles that are written that says the players have decided that they don't like this one mechanic in games. No, they haven't. You have. And now you're making up an artificial they to sell your point. Did you do a
I
poll?
don't like this thing, so I went to my Discord with my 4 friends and I asked them, and they all said that gamers.
Right? Like, dude, it's okay to have your own personal opinion. You don't need to make up a they that's way over there that doesn't exist.
That's ridiculous.
Just say, hey, I don't like this thing and I think it should go away. Own your opinion. Don't make up like a 98% of gamers say that this one thing kills online service games. No, they don't. You do. Did you do a poll? How big was your sample batch?
Yeah, dude, he went to his Discord with his 4 other friends.
Right, you just established this. That's correct. Well, I can tell you 98% of owners of the Switch 2 think that the screen is trash. I don't actually know if that's an actual metric, but Mike, you know a little bit more about this than I do. What's going on with the Switch 2 screen besides, Kyle's putting staples through the screen?
The Covenant
Coalition of Kyle's. Yeah.
The Kyle Covenant Coalition.
Are you having a stroke over there? Are you smelling toast? Are you okay?
I'm smelling something. Apparently the Switch 2, the LCD on the Switch 2 is so sluggish that some independent testers have discovered it is actually 10 times slower than a typical gaming monitor. And a typical gaming monitor, I believe, is like just a $300 1440p 1080p panel. It's like something not too crazy, something very affordable.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 times slower than a typical gaming monitor, and just for shits and giggles, they also made the metrics for OLED panels. It's 100 times slower than an OLED panel.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's not good.
You don't say.
So it's shipped with an LCD panel, which is like a typical liquid crystal display, but it's LED
I mean, that's
panel.
what's LED panels is also what's on the Steam Deck, so it's not uncommon.
Yeah. So Monitors Unboxed is the independent tester, and they tested some TN LCD panels, and they are TN is a older display tech. If I'm remembering correctly, TN became prominent when we moved away from VA panels in this, like when LEDs started to become more of a thing. You can still get VA panels, and they're still around like the $200 price point. They're just like not great experiences. So TN, I think, came after VA, if I'm remembering correctly. If I'm not, then I'll make a note to give to Russ, or I'll mention it next episode. But TN LCD panels as low as 3.7 milliseconds. That's how fast the panels were in his testing. The Switch was slower than that.
Wow.
3.7 milliseconds from an input to an output on the screen. So from pressing like the fucking trigger to throw your blue shell in Mario Kart to actually seeing it happen, it was 10 times slower than 3.7 milliseconds. Like, that is a noticeable difference.
Yeah.
If someone was like in the middle of a like Splatoon battle and like there was a sudden hitch like that, they would feel it.
Yeah.
I picked Splatoon because it's like a Switch specific game.
Yeah, makes sense.
The OLED panels are typically about 3.3 milliseconds. Or sorry, it's 0.3 milliseconds for OLED panels is like the average in response time. So the original Switch LCD display from 2017 is actually faster than the LCD on the Switch 2.
So let me get this straight.
Hold on about that.
Okay, all right.
The Switch 1, 21 milliseconds.
What?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So not only is the screen so thin that people were stapling through it, but it's shit. Like, legit on paper, factually confirmed worse than the Switch 1. Bravo, Nintendo. Way to tell your fans, which I'm amazed you still have them, that you give no fucks about the quality of the stuff that you sell them.
Yep.
Wow.
Japan, apparently, there's someone in Japan or a news reviewer people in Japan on Chimolog, I think is how it's pronounced.
Sure.
They did their own tests, and theirs with the 60 hertz setting, because there is a setting to go up to 120 hertz for the panel. At the 60 hertz setting, it averaged 17 milliseconds. So that tells me that there is variation. So there is a QC issue between wherever they're sourcing their panels.
Yeah.
And when they're actually like putting them on the console and like completing the shell. They also tested a unnamed 27-inch LCD monitor, so probably some like generic thing that is only sold over there. 11 milliseconds on that monitor.
So still faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of their gaming monitors coming in under 6 milliseconds. Again, unnamed gaming monitors.
Sure. Yeah.
So they're like very generic, quote unquote, in terms of like if you go to Temu and buy like fucking Chinese generic of X item, it's one of those things.
Got it.
Yeah. It's yeah. So they have there's a QC issue. That is kind of the.
I would argue the whole system is a QC issue.
Yeah, fuck. Jesus Christ. Just what the fuck?
Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to wait longer, but I don't know if you remember, I think it was like last year, way before I even like mentioned coming out here. I had sent you guys an article about it was Nintendo and Nvidia were in a spat because Nintendo wanted to wait to unveil the Switch 2, and Nvidia was like, okay, but we're waiting to unveil our own next generation shit because they made the chip the Switch 2 runs on. It's a Tegra chip. It's the Tegra 2.
Yep.
Nvidia made this in-house. They are going to implement it into their, which they announced. It's an ARM chip that they are also producing or manufacturing. But from my understanding from that is Nvidia and Nintendo signed an agreement, a contractual obligation that Nvidia would create this Tegra 2 processor for Nintendo's next generation Switch, and then Nintendo would unveil it, and then that's when Nvidia can be like, here's the new Nvidia Shield, or like whatever the fuck they wanted to do with it.
Right.
And at some point, within the last 2 years, as of 2024, within the last 2 years before that, they had been getting in spats with Nintendo because they're like, what, like, we're ready to announce this. Like, what are you waiting for? Do your thing. And it turned into a whole like PR issue before it got squashed because they didn't want anything to leak potentially. But yeah, that was like a whole ordeal.
Never mind, you're good.
Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if the QC stuff that we're facing with the Switch 2 as a whole was probably in the process of being ironed out, and just all the pressure on the video being like, yo, like, just fucking do what you said you were going to do. I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo rushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process on that. That there wouldn't be a QC issue if Nintendo didn't rush to the punch on that.
I think Nintendo didn't rush, which is part of the issue. They didn't, and then they did. You know what I mean? Like, they wanted to keep holding back and keep holding back and keep holding back, and Nvidia was getting, more and more bad about it, and so they're like, all right,
this
fucking
is all
fine.
Hypothetical, by the way. This is all opinion. This is all,
none of this is confirmed. This is all our speculation and our thoughts. That's all this is. Yeah. Moving on, Monster Hunter Wilds, the PC version is getting some improvements after a long wait. However, CPU continues to be an issue. They're not fixing its CPU consumption, so it's still going to melt your lightning rock, I guess. After that, we've got Little Nightmares is getting a VR game, as well as a couple of remasters for 1 and 2. I never played them. Did you play those games, Mike? Were they any good?
I did.
Yeah.
I actually really like the Little Nightmares games.
Okay.
They're
All right.
they're the perfect mix of cozy couch gaming and also just like horror, but
Gotcha.
like not in like an actual like scary kind of way, just in like a kind of like on your seat, like when you see a spider and it runs at you type of way.
Okay. That's a very specific type of fear for some people.
Yeah, it's 100%. It's very much not an in your face or like a jump scare type of game. It's just eerie.
Got it.
Gross.
Okay. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us over here on the Quickfire and Free side for tonight. Mike, do you have any final thoughts before we head over to Patreon?
I actually wanted to throw in some last minute things that I saw pop up here. 16 hours ago, Battlefield 6 got a new leak a week after the last one. Apparently, the game mode Rush is returning.
Oh, nice. Rush was my go-to.
Yeah, it's there's a leak. Apparently, it's coming back. That's from Rock Paper Shotgun. I can pull that up and send it to you later for sources. And then Ready or Not is getting a console release that was announced, I think, a month or two ago, and they just actually announced yesterday that they are updating the game with some new assets that I guess are a sensor on some things. Doesn't really specify what the sensor is, just that it's easier to run those assets on the console, and because it's easier to maintain one version of the game instead of the console version and the PC version being separate assets, they're just going to globally run the same asset. So yeah, that's the thing.
Interesting.
I also wanted to do a quick little shout out to a game that's coming out soon-ish. It's called Minsk, M-I-N-S-K.
Yeah, I got into the playtest for that.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very short. I think I beat it in like an hour. It's being made by one person.
Yep. Yeah, I think we talked about it. Either you and I did, or Tim and I did before. But
it might have been you and Tim.
Yeah, but we did talk about that.
Yeah, I played it this week. I played the little demo, and I like it.
Nice.
It's really good.
Good to hear. It looked interesting. I liked what they were doing. It's like a horror love story, from what the premise is, which is really interesting. So I don't know if you read all that, but yeah, it's an interesting
I read
game.
The premise.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we are going to head over to Patreon if we're all done over here. Good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Tell your mom I said hi. Peace out.
Deuces.